Hello, everyone. Welcome to Star Command. This is your captain and your general, Commander G. Just got a fresh cut here. Looking pretty slick. Probably need a little bit better video to actually tell with the haircut. Today we're going to be talking about addictions. We're going to dive right into it. And this is probably going to be a little bit new for you in terms of remedying the addiction, identifying the source of the addiction, and treating it. So it's going to be a little bit different in the way that we explain what an addiction is and how it can be treated. So let's start off by saying that anything can become an addiction. Okay? Most of us think that addictions arise from either drugs or alcohol. These are the common ones. Sex is a huge one. Porn, that's a big one for men. So what is really going on is behind the scenes, you're looking at an energetic separation from self and from source. Okay? So one of the ways that we can treat this addiction or addictions, because those are the main ones, the main addictions, but really it can go into being addicted to things like thinking or eating. These are the more subtle ways, right? So let's focus on treating the addiction. When we understand how the addiction process works, which is a fundamental disconnect from self, and it perpetuates itself to create a even more separation from itself. And so addiction is an uncontrollable pattern that is purely negative in nature, that will only bring you harm. There are things, for example, like exercise. You don't need to be addicted to exercise. You may habitually exercise, but that brings you endorphin release, et cetera, et cetera. Obviously, there's a boundary. Maybe you have a crazy addiction where you have a negative attribute, but let's be clear on our definition. An addiction is a habitual pattern that brings you negative consequences that is uncontrollable. Okay? So how do we break free of that? Because ultimately, the ultimate addiction is the addiction to identifying with the ego. Identifying with a false self. One could say that is the source of all addictions. Now, for those of you who may not be as esoteric, as spiritual, you got to start to go in. You got to start to dig deeper. Got to start to see what's behind those words, what's behind those patterns. And what you'll find at the bottom of the barrel is a false sense of self. The false sense of self calls in habitual negative energy, negative patterns to try to keep itself alive, to try to self-perpetuate itself. It even causes problems, causes fights, not all fights. But this false sense of self is the main target for treatment. What's behind the addiction to drugs? What's behind the addiction to alcohol? My confirmation, my answer is separation from source. So when we connect back to source, we connect back to the self source within us that everyone on the planet and in the universe has the capacity to do, this addiction will naturally disseminate and disappear. Because it is when in those moments when you are feeling the craving, quote unquote, you want that cheeseburger, you want the drugs, you want the heroin, you want the alcohol. Can you sit with it for just a moment? Can you be with it? And I guarantee if you can sit with it, you can sit with it a little longer. You can trace the patterning, the thinking back and back and back. There'll be several layers. So you might need to do this before you officially break the pattern. It took me a long time, many years. And still feeling a little addicted to drama, addicted to problems. So I too am working to break free of that ultimate addiction. But start with when you get that craving, identifying if you do have an addiction, you need to go get help, you need to reach out. If you can't call someone physical, call on some spiritual, call on some energetic. Remember, you are a co-creator. You're a creator. That's pretty crazy. You're a creator. Meaning when you call for help, when you ask for help, it's going to come. Don't push it away. Don't shy away. Ask for help, it'll come. It may be in the form of physical being, but it will come, I guarantee you. I ask for help all the time. All the dang time. So if you're approaching something like this, which behind it all, we are addicted to this separation. We wouldn't be here on the planet if we weren't. That's what none of us are talking about, but here I am talking about it on Star Command, talking about the true source of addiction, what the treatment is, how to break away from it, and what we can really do about it in terms of the masses. It needs to start individually. It needs to start with you. One person who can break away, and by the way, we're talking about enlightenment now, so we're just bringing it all together. Because what is breaking away from that ultimate addiction, from being disconnected from source? That is enlightenment. You find love, joy, fulfillment, and wholeness. Once you are connected, you don't need the external any longer. You don't need that external hit, the dopamine hit, the drugs, the alcohol. You don't need that to feel whole. That's where the addiction arises, is this feeling of scarcity, of lack, of not being fully present. That's how it begins. Then we look outside of ourselves to fill that hole through drugs, sex, thinking, whatever it is. We look outside in the external world. It ain't there. Because in order to become whole, we got to look within. You got to look within. You got to clear away those layers. Get reconnected back to self, back to source. If this challenges your beliefs in who you are, what you are, why you're here, what you're capable of, good. That's good. Challenge them. I challenge myself, my beliefs all the time. Sometimes they don't work for me anymore. I'm constantly adapting, constantly changing. If they don't work for you, if what I say doesn't work for you, then you don't need to do anything. Move on. Someone else is out there for you to listen to. I'm tailored for a specific frequency, a specific audience who needs to hear this right now at this current nexus of time. So let's recap. We want to finish here in the next minute. The true source of addiction is a feeling of separation, and it is an illusion of separation, which causes us to search outside of ourselves for wholeness, for reconnection. Some of us find that hit via drugs, alcohol, sex, etc., thinking, food, something that causes negative consequences and perpetuates the cycle. How can we treat it? How can we cure the addiction? We got to turn our attention and our energy inwards. Stop looking outside of yourself to fill the hole, to fill the emptiness. Turn within, and the emptiness is gone. That is based on your natural energy, your natural self. We are all naturally whole, naturally healed, naturally benevolent, super beings. Thank y'all for listening today. Please like or subscribe at Fluid Wellbeing, and please go to www.fluidwellbeing.com. You can subscribe to my newsletter there. Thank y'all for listening.